What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Crowder. Thank you guys so much. Tonight, we have so much to talk about in the world of sports, so much going on with college athletics, all the noise about the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas as well. So we have a lot to dive in tonight, guys. So thank y'all so much for joining me. This is episode 92. So if this is your first time watching, thank you so much. If you've been along for the entire ride, the last 2 years, thank you so much as well. So don't forget, guys, to share this out. Comment down below. Tell me what you think down below about all this stuff going on in college football. And we'll get started here in just a second. I'll let one or two people join, and we'll get going, guys. So literally a lot of talk about NCAA, Aaron Rodgers, training camp, Deshaun Watson, Simone Biles in the Olympics. I mean, you just got so much going on, so many things to talk about, and it's very exciting. So we'll see. We'll let someone get on real quick, and then we'll go from there. All right, y'all doing all right tonight, guys? Y'all doing okay? You turn the volume up a little bit on my headphones. All right. There we go. All right, there we go. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Crowder, guys. This is episode 92, so we're very, very close to hitting that century mark in 100 episodes. So thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Don't forget to comment, like, share down below. Let's get this thing out there so more people can see it. We got our first follower. Thank you guys so much. You know what to do down below. Give it a like, give it a share, guys. All right, so we're gonna move into we got so many things going on in the world of sports. Like I said, college athletics, the NFL training camp, the Olympics going on. But first, I wanted to congratulate the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, the MVP of the 2021 NBA Finals. They defeat the Phoenix Suns in a great series. I haven't had a show since then, so I just wanted to shout out them on a hell of a season. Just a great playoff run, and we'll see what happens going on next year. Let's see if they can repeat, but great job by the Greek Freak, and just what a performance he put on in Game 6 and scoring 50 points. So second off, guys, I have to talk a little bit about college football. It was a little bit of a quiet off season, and then you have one domino fall, and that was, of course, the NIL, the ruling on the name, image, and likeness of how guys can be compensated for interviews, for autograph signings, for endorsement deals, all that other stuff. So we'll see what happens with that and the NIL moving forward, and how these coaches kind of can use that. Nick Saban, of course, came out and said Bryce Young, who hasn't even started a football game at Alabama, has already almost brought in $1 million worth of name, image, and likeness deals. Now, if that's true, I'm not sure. If it's not, I don't know why Nick Saban would say it, but Nick Saban was very calculated in that response, in that saying about Bryce Young. And yes, Alabama's going to recruit very well anyways. They don't have to put out these numbers and things like that of what their players may be earning, but it's going to make Alabama even more desirable. What's up, Rita? It's going to make Alabama more desirable for recruits who can go and get paid off their name, image, and likeness. And then not only is it a feeder to the NFL, Alabama's just they're on another level right now, especially with their recruiting, with their coaching, with Nick Saban, what he's been able to do. And now he has the name, image, and likeness coming in. So Bryce Young, like I said, earning almost close to 7 figures in this first couple weeks of the NIL. So, and then not only that happens, and then you have the college football playoff expansion. So we're talking college football playoff expansion. we had the BCS, now we go to 4 teams, and now it looks like we're going to 12 teams. So 12-team college expansion is not really if, but a matter of when it's going to happen. A lot of people think it could take after 2023. Some people are, maybe hoping it could happen in 2022. It's going to be a few years, just like it is going to be a few years when Texas and Oklahoma join the SEC. And a few years ago, you remember Oklahoma and Texas were flirting with the Pac-12. They decided to renew their rights and stay with the Big 12. Well, now, Texas, what's up, Johnny? Texas, what's up, brother? How you doing? Texas and Oklahoma want to get in the SEC. They want a little slice of that pie. And the SEC is just a dominant conference, not only in football, but all athletics, softball, baseball, basketball, gymnastics, track and field. You look at it all, SEC is the most dominant conference. It's basically a semi-professional league. You go to this league, a lot of your players are going to get drafted. So I want to talk a little bit about the dominoes that could happen. So Texas and Oklahoma, they're going to go to the SEC. It's 95%. I would put this. I mean, at this point, this thing has spread like wildfire in the last 10 days. It's going to happen. Texas and Oklahoma are going to join the SEC. And here's some couple questions I have about that. What's going to happen in the SEC? How are these teams going to be divided up? You've seen Auburn and Alabama move to the east in some things. You've seen Auburn and Ole Miss move to the east. I mean, you've seen a couple different scenarios. I'm sure that the SEC would like to keep Alabama and Auburn together. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. Makes a lot of sense for their rivalry to be in the same division. They play every year. Now they could still play every year if they were in cross division rivals. Yes, they could play every year. That would be their game. But it makes a lot of sense for Alabama and Auburn to go to the east, Texas and Oklahoma to the west, and then you have this super power conference, 16 teams, and just unbelievable what could happen. What's going to happen is, most likely with this new college football playoff, these added games, they're probably going to have to go down, from 12 games to possibly 11 games. That's been talked about. I was at ACC Media Day, last week, and that was talked about, the expansion of the college football playoff. Dabo Swinney wants it, less games because, you're going from 15 games, now you're going to go 16 games. So he'd like to see the schedule worked on. But this thing is going to be talked about with the SEC and Oklahoma and Texas all the way up until the toe meets leather in the opening weekend of college football, because this thing is going nowhere fast, and it just makes a lot of sense for Texas and Oklahoma to go to the SEC. It makes a lot of sense for the SEC to be welcoming and let these teams in, but does it stop there? Could you see SEC go after maybe possibly a Clemson? Could you see SEC maybe go after an FSU, a Miami? Some of these other programs who, yes, FSU is down right now, but I guarantee you they're a top 15 college football program, just based off tradition and just what they can be, their facilities, just their place in college football history. FSU's in there. So if you could get, now I don't know, I think if you're FSU, you'd probably rather stay in the ACC and duke it out with Clemson and Miami and these other schools, these second-tier schools. Because SEC, let's just be honest, top 5-6 teams in that conference are very, very, very good football programs. So if you're the Pac-12 or you're the Big Ten, you got to be interested in picking up the phone and trying to call some of these institutions. Big Ten, Kansas makes a lot of sense, especially from a basketball standpoint, to go in that great basketball conference the Big Ten has. Iowa State makes a lot of sense. They already have an Iowa in the Big Ten. It would make a lot of sense for Iowa State. They could go after either of those programs. If you're the Pac-12, yes, you have the Pac-12, and it's a high academic institution. What's up, Van? Yes, they have these very good schools out in the Pac-12, but, could the Pac-12 go after a team like Baylor in Waco, Texas? Could they go after a program like TCU? Or does the Big 12 try to go after some teams who are, in that Cincinnati realm, Memphis, UCF, Houston. Okay, the Big 12 has the Big 12. In 5 years, if you had to ask me, is the Big 12 around, or did it dissolve? Right now, it looks like like they will not be around, but they can still try to form a formidable conference, and not only in football, but basketball, baseball, and all the other sports that go along with it. Okay, so right now, you have. Let me see, where are these teams I got written down? Okay, sorry guys, I'm trying to find the. I wrote all the team names down, but okay, whatever. I do know about the teams. Okay, so we got TCU, you got Baylor, you got Iowa State, you got Kansas, you got Kansas State, you got Texas Tech, West Virginia. I'm probably missing one, but those are your Big 12 teams. So, the Big 12. If I'm the Big 12, I'm picking up the phone. I'm trying to get in touch with a Houston, UCF, Cincinnati, some of these Boise State, BYU, some of these teams who have good football programs and can be formidable in other sports. That's what you need. Yeah, the Big 12, I'm sure, wants to stick around, but we'll see what happens. With that, I really don't know. I really don't know what happens. I mean, that's the big thing, and it's not just about football. You got to think about the other sports, guys. There's so much to dive into. There's so much to discuss when it talks to all this conference realignment. And how big do you go? If you're the SEC, how many teams is too many? Do you go to right now? You're at 14 teams. Do you go to 16 teams? Do you go to 18 teams? Do you go to 20? You go to 24? Do you try to pair up with the Big Ten and get some scheduling every year done? 2 games a year versus everyone plays 2 games from. There's so many dominoes that could fall. It's so intriguing, and it's 6 months ago. If you would have told me all this was going down right now in August or July and August, right before the season started, I would have told you were crazy. It didn't make sense from that standpoint. So we'll talk a little bit about that and where these college football teams go later on. NFL training camp, guys, is underway. All 32 teams will be in action this week at NFL training camp. Of course, we did not have training camp last year with the COVID. So we'll have it this year, guys. And the big news coming out of Green Bay yesterday. What's up, Trip? Aaron Rodgers, guys. Aaron Rodgers reports to the Green Bay Packers. He has worked it out where he will play in 2021 with Green Bay. He just wants a little bit of emphasis on the roster. The guy won an MVP. He's going back for his 17th season, 14th as a starter in Green Bay. Just has deserved all the money that he's been given. But really hasn't had a say in, hey, Aaron, we're going after Jordan Love in the draft. I just want to let you know he wasn't given that. You think that your starting quarterback, you would at least let him know that he didn't get let known. He wanted to keep some of his veteran guys. He named a bunch of them: Clay Matthews, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb. He named a bunch of those guys in the interviews who got away and it was never talked about with Aaron Rodgers. They cut a receiver in the offseason that Aaron Rodgers really, really liked. Just a bunch of things. They don't draft many wide receivers in the first round. Instead, draft a quarterback to sit behind them. And, Aaron Rodgers was just ticked off and, he contemplated retirement. But at the end of the day, the guy can still play at a high level. He's done it in Green Bay for so long. He wanted to be with Green Bay. He just wants a little bit of... He wants to, to basically say where he will go if he's traded in the offseason, where that destination will be. He also wants a little bit more say in the roster. He doesn't want the final say. Just like if you do really good at a job, you're doing good, you're a great employee, you do everything right, you're going to maybe ask for a little bit of pay grade. You're going to ask for some things like that. So Aaron Rodgers isn't doing anything that anyone else wouldn't do in the same situation. The guy's definitely performing at a high level, winning an MVP last year, was one game away from the Super Bowl. So, I definitely understand where Aaron Rodgers is coming from. A lot of people will call him a diva, but at the end of the day, the guy, I mean, he's a top 5 quarterback in this league and just wants to be treated as one. And, Tampa Bay is going to call and ask Tom Brady, hey, we're going to draft this Kyle Trask guy. What do you think of it? They're going to at least reach out to him and try to give him that respect. So, and he's only been with them for 1 year. So, we'll see what happens. He does report he will not be fined. Is 2021 the last year of Rodgers in Green Bay? I'm not too sure about that. I really don't know. With the situation, what if they go out there and win the Super Bowl this year? I guarantee you Aaron Rodgers will be back. So he's at least guaranteed where he'll play in 2021. We'll see what happens after that. Also, Deshaun Watson, a guy who got a lot of publicity for the wrong reasons in the offseason. He reports to training camp to avoid a $50,000 fine each day for the next 2 weeks. So Deshaun Watson reports, but still letting it be known, I want to get traded, guys. I don't want to be here in Houston. You drafted Davis Mills. Just let me move on. Let me move on. Let me go somewhere else and try to succeed. Deshaun Watson does not want to be part of this Houston Texans new regime. He doesn't want anything to do with this. I think he's firm in his stance. He does not want to play for the Texans. We'll see what happens going forward. But, there's one team who makes a lot of... It's actually 2 teams. 2 teams that make a lot of sense. One that, if I'm this team, I am picking up the phone every single day and I'm calling Houston to see what I can do to get this player. And I will go over that team later on in the show, guys. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But this team, man, I'm telling you, they didn't have good quarterback play last year. They still made the playoffs. Just wait. I will tell you about that team later on in the show. Texans said this week they will listen to offers for Deshaun Watson. So before they said, hey, no, we're not trading you. You're Deshaun Watson. You're a quarterback. We're not trading you. Now, Houston's kind of changed their stance a little bit. And, they will listen to offers. They want 2, 3 first-round picks. They want another quarterback back. They want a defensive starter. So, they're going to have to give up. You're going to have to pay for Deshaun Watson. But, some team will come correct. And I'll tell you who that team may be later on. Should be all in on him. All in. Pick up that phone. What do you want? Okay, let's do it. Let's make it happen. That's what this team should do. We'll see what happens. This team's been aggressive in the past, so let's see if they go after a guy like Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson has a lot of things over his head right now. And he's got to get that settled first, got to get that situated. But if he can move on from that, if this thing can somehow get dropped or move it on or whatever, settled, whatever it is, whatever these women want, whatever their propaganda, whatever their agenda is in this whole thing, maybe Deshaun Watson will play football in 2021. Maybe he won't. But if you're this football team, you need to pick up the phone and call, and I'll tell you about that team later. Also, guys, I'm telling you, jam-packed show. Also, we have MLB trade deadline, which is Friday. Already had a big piece traded today. Joey Gallo was traded from the Rangers to the New York Yankees. The evil empire strikes again. And guys, also, NBA draft tomorrow night. So, I'm going to give you my top 5 players for the draft. I'll also go over the top 5 picks and then which 2 teams have 2 lottery picks in the NBA lottery. So I'll go over all that, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Kicking It with Crowder, episode 92. If you haven't already, be sure to find me wherever you get your favorite podcast. I'm on Apple. I'm on Spotify, the iHeartRadio app. I'm also, guys, on Twitter. I'm a great follow, at Kick It with Crow. Also on YouTube, Kicking It with Crowder. Get them subs up, guys. Please like, subscribe. Let me know what you like about my show. Let me know what you think I need to do better. And always down for some feedback. Always down for some questions, guys. So if you're watching, it's your first time, and you want to talk about something, let me know down below, guys. Always feel free to comment. I love engaging. If it's without you guys, I have no show. So thank y'all so much. for joining me tonight. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that share button. And guys, kickingitwithcrowder.com, www.kickingitwithcrowder.com. You can find all my podcasts there, all my stuff. Just went to ACC Media Day, interviewed a lot of great coaches, Dabo Sweeney, DJ Yuga Galele, FSU's quarterback Jordan Travis, also Mackenzie Milton, Jermaine Johnson, transfer, spoke to Virginia's head coach Bronco Mendenhall, BC's head coach Jeff Hafley, and their great quarterback transfer from Notre Dame. I mean, I had a great, fantastic time, guys. If you want to check out some of that, I have it all on my website. Also on Twitter, my Kicking It With Crowder page, you can catch some of my interviews from coaches. Man, it was a really, really fun experience, and I can't wait to go back next year to Charlotte, North Carolina. So, hey, we got about 5 people here on the live, guys. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Like I said, hit that like button, man. Hit that share button. Get this out for the people, man. I really appreciate you. You don't understand how much I appreciate you watching my show. It means a lot to me. All right, so moving forward. Also, if you haven't liked my Kicking It With Crowder page, be sure to like that as well. That way you can get all my good stuff. All right, so college football, guys, playoff expansion, it's not really if, but when it happens. It's going to happen. It's not really, hey, how many teams is right for the playoff. It's not a question anymore. It's more of, hey, how many teams will be in and when do we start? So here's what they're thinking right now. They're going to go to a 12-team format. The first 4 teams will get a bye. So instead of having to play 1 through 4, 2 and 3, now the first 4 will get a bye. 5 will play 12. 5 will play 12, 6 will play 11, 7 and 10, 6 and 9. So you have the first 4 getting a bye, and then what's up, Sweeney? Then you have these next 8 teams playing each other. So a 5 versus 12 matchup. Anything can happen in that in basketball. Thank you, Parker. Of course, it's a nice haircut. Thank you, my friend. All right, but anyways, anything can happen in these college football playoffs. Yes, I think a lot of the... Hey, Taylor, thanks for watching, babe. I think that 12-team model is a good model. I would have liked to see 8 or 10 teams in there. They're going to a 12-team format. So, yes, you're going to see Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama basically every year like you have been. But you get a little bit more of a... last year, Cincinnati would have got in. UGA would have gotten in. Coastal Carolina possibly would have snuck in there. Liberty. You're going to have these teams, just like you do in college basketball every year, that sneak in and make a run. I like the 12-team format. It gives people, if you lose one game, you go 11-1, you go 10-2, you have a bad day, one of your star players is injured, you have a chance to get back in the college football playoff. Clemson and Georgia play this year, first game. In a 12-team format, you can lose this first game and it'd be okay. You run the table and you get back in the playoff. This year, you lose in the first round. It's not a guarantee. In the first game, it's not a guarantee you get back in that 4-team playoff. So I like the 12-team format. I think that they need to go ahead and adopt that as soon as possible. They need to figure out the bowl situation. I think bowls are very important in college football. Also, I think the 12-team format also stops some of the opting out that you see. More teams in it. You're going to have more guys who are going to stay in and stay healthy. Yes, you're going to have your guys who opt out of bowls, but at the end of the day, I think the 12-team format gives more teams the opportunity. Yes, you're going to have team 13, 14, 15 bitching and moaning about it. But at the end of the day, I think the 12-team format works out good because the first 4 teams get a bye, Parker. So then you have these other teams playing an extra game. Then you crank back in, you go 1-8, 2-7, and then you see what happens. So, 4 teams to me, it'd be the same 4 teams every year. I think, like UGA, Cincinnati, say they were to play in the game. I think that could be a toss-up type game, and anyone could win. Anyone, I don't think that, a team like UCF can win it all, go on a 3-game, win like they could have done a few years ago, but they may win a game. They may get that brand recognition that they're looking for. They're going to get, more recruits going to see them on TV. We're going to want to come to UCF. So it makes a lot of sense if you can just say, hey, guys, look, we're a small program. We went 10-2 this year. We made the college football playoff, and we beat an SEC Georgia. I mean, it gives your team a little bit more of validity going forward. So, I mean, I'm not talking about, yes, you're gonna have a SEC team that loses to. You had an LSU team who lost 2 games and won a national championship when it was the BCS. So, I'm not saying you have a 9-3 team that plays in the SEC West and they lose to Alabama, Texas A&M, and Auburn, who are all in the top 10. I mean, that team could pretty much beat almost every other team in America. So they get penalized because they're in the toughest division in football. I mean, I'm not saying a lot of 3-team losses are going to get in, but you're going to see a team that, like 1 year get in that has a bunch of losses. But I mean, at the end of the day, in the SEC, if they go to the 16-team model, a lot of more SEC teams are going to get in. There's going to be 5-6 SEC teams in every year if you go to this huge super conference. So that's another thing. How many Pac-12 schools will get in? I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs since 2016. So, I mean, I think that it's all about the money. That's all that drives college football. And, I mean, you're going to see it going to a 12-team playoff. I mean, that's just what it's basically going to be right now. And, yes, you're probably going to see 5 to 6 teams out of the SEC get in. So you're going to have to, duke it out during the season. And, you don't have to be perfect all year and go 15-0. Alabama, yes, they went undefeated last year, but they've had slip-ups before and still won a national championship. So, yes, you don't want a team losing 2 or 3 games winning a national championship, but, you're going to see some of these teams like Coastal Carolina, Cincinnati, some of these teams who go undefeated, get their shot, get their swing at a top program. And I'm telling you, there's going to be more upsets than people think. But the cream of the crop will always rise to the top, and we'll see what happens. But that's what's going to happen. 12-team model, it's going to happen. I just don't know when. When will it happen? We'll see what happens. Texas and OU will not renew with the Big 12. We already talked about it a little bit earlier. They will probably go to the but you're okay. Yes, you're rewarding mediocrity for a team that loses maybe 2 games, but also you're giving teams who have gone undefeated, gone 12-0, a spot who would have never made it to a playoff, maybe getting in and being able to beat one of these higher programs, better programs, a Cinderella type story. And I'm here for that. Boise State beating Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl 15 years ago. I still can remember that play. I still remember it vividly, watching that football game. So, I mean, you're going to have stuff like that happen. And, if you're the best football team in America, it doesn't matter how many games you add. Alabama, they could have added 3-4 more games last year. They were beating everybody. It didn't matter who. But also, you got to worry about injuries. There's a lot of things to figure out. Also, the schedule. Do you go from 12 to 11 games? Do you go maybe from playing 8 SEC games to going to 9 SEC games, and then you cut out, maybe one of the non-conference games? Do you play one of the same conferences every year? Do you have a Big 10 SEC matchup? I mean, there's so many things that's going on. But no one wanted to. I mean, they beat Parker. They beat the shit out of everyone last year. It didn't matter who they played. They were going to beat everyone. I mean, they killed Ohio State. They destroyed Notre Dame. Didn't matter who they played. At least Coastal Carolina, if they go out there and Coastal Carolina can hang a couple touchdowns on them, I mean, and at least get into the ball game, it's exciting. So I get what you're saying. You're not going to make everyone happy. There's still people who are not happy that they went from BCS to 4 teams. So I don't like the 4-team model. I think that they need to expand. What's that number? I don't know, but we'll see what happens. what happens to the Big 12? Like I said, Oklahoma State, Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, Kansas, Kansas State, West Virginia, Iowa State are all probably looking for a new conference. What happens? What do they do? Do they try to add schools like UCF, BYU, Boise State, Memphis, Cincinnati? Do they go after schools like that to bring into the Big 12? You're not only thinking just football, guys. You're thinking basketball, women's basketball. You're thinking baseball, softball, track, gymnastics. I mean, you're thinking of all these things. It's not just one thing. It's not just football. Football is the money go-getter, but at the end of the day, it's not the only thing that's out there. So if I'm the Big 12, if I'm the Big 12 commissioner, I'm picking up the phone. I'm trying to call these schools. I'm trying to get a Cincinnati or a UCF to come over to the Big 12. I'm trying to get these teams into my conference. I'm not trying to go join other conferences. If I'm Pac-12, I'm picking up the phone. I'm calling Baylor. I'm picking up the phone. I'm calling Oklahoma State. I'm calling TCU. Okay? If you're Pac-12, you have a chance to grow and build and get some really good institutions in. You got to go after these schools if you're going to look to expand and try to compete with the SEC. Because right now, how it is, you're not going to be able to compete with the SEC. But if you're able to grab 3 or 4 of these teams and build, I think that you can really give your chance a shot to have multiple teams in the college football playoff if they expand. So, also, what does the Big Ten do? What does the Big Ten do? Does the Big Ten try to get a Kansas who not very good in football, but a very good basketball program? What do they try to do with Iowa State? Does Big Ten go after Iowa State, who they already have a natural rival with Iowa? So, I mean, there's so many things. Damn it. There's so many things that you could do moving forward. I mean, it's really going to shake things up. Does another conference, maybe does another conference try to go up? I mean, I don't know. I mean, does the Sun Belt try to move up into that Power 5? Does the Conference USA try to do the same? I mean, do all these conferences try to do that as well? So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's so much. We're going to be talking about this for years, man. I mean, unbelievable. I remember when it was supposed to happen a few years ago with Texas and Oklahoma going to the Pac-12. I remember how that was playing out and how crazy that was going to be. It's going to be 10 times crazier than what it was going to be 10 years ago. So I'd like to see the Big 12 kind of stay intact, go after some of these other programs. Also, the Big 10, what does the Big 10 do? The Big 10 can't just lay back and sit back and let the SEC get all these programs. Does the SEC go after a program like Clemson? Does the SEC go after another program like Florida State or Miami? I mean, it's about to get real interesting, so buckle up. I really don't know what the future of college football is. I mean, I think it's just going to be one huge conference, the SEC, and everyone else is just going to be, trying to get the scraps. So SEC, Oklahoma, Texas, they bring that brand recognition. 2 top 10 football programs, Texas and Oklahoma. The Notre Dame's not in the ACC. They have they have one foot in the door, Parker, but they're not officially in the ACC. Yes, if you're looking for expansion, what's up, Glenn? If you're looking for expansion, Notre Dame to the ACC, it makes too much sense from a financial standpoint to get Notre Dame into the ACC. I think if and when Notre Dame decides to not become independent, Notre Dame makes too much sense for the ACC. Yes, the Big Ten's tried before, but I really think that the ties that Notre Dame has to the ACC, it just makes too much sense. And then what does the ACC do? Does the ACC try to go after maybe a West Virginia or, one of these other programs? Or maybe do they try to go after a UCF, or do they try to go after maybe a Cincinnati? It's going to be insane. I mean, it is going to be insane. And yes, like Eddie said, Notre Dame is not playing in the ACC with football, but they're in the ACC in all other sports. So they have one foot in the door. and they're going to be independent, Parker, in football. And I agree, man. No one should be independent in football. Go get yourself a conference. Notre Dame is not the same Notre Dame they were 40 years ago. You're going to have to go and you're going to have to compete. Yeah, and I think West Virginia makes a lot of sense for the ACC. I think Baylor and TCU make a lot of sense for the Pac-12. I think Kansas and Iowa State make a lot of sense for the Big Ten. I mean, you got all kind of stuff, all kind of things to work out, all kind of kinks to work out. So we'll see what happens. And like I said, OU and Texas is just the beginning. What's up, Glenn? Does the SEC move after Florida State or Clemson or Miami? We'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be very interesting, to say the least. I'm here for it. I can't wait till college football, guys. Will be a college football playoff this year with just 4 teams. Like I said, the expansion will not affect it this year. The 12-team playoff will not be this year. Hasn't even been announced that it will for sure be 12, but that's just the number that everyone's talking about. But man, college football world has been just hit with some great stories in the last few weeks. So definitely stay tuned for that, guys. NIL, college expansion, and college football playoff expansion. Man, just a lot of news going on. Aaron Rodgers gave a very, very decorated press conference today. I'm not sure if you guys got to check that out. Be sure to check it out, man. It was a very interesting watch, 30 minutes. I mean, very candid, answered questions thoroughly. Didn't hide, what's up, Charlie? Did not shy away from questions, answered everything that he was asked, and basically said, hey, I'm Aaron Rodgers, and, Green Bay isn't like a free agent destination. When someone comes here, they're coming here to play with me. I'm Aaron freaking Rodgers. That's basically what he said. And, at the end of the day, I think both sides won. I think Aaron Rodgers will get a little bit of more say with this franchise as far as, draft picks and free agents if he stays, going past 2021. They get Randall Cobb. He says he wants Randall Cobb, and he'll come back. They go get him. He comes back. They're going to have a working relationship, Aaron Rodgers and the GM, but at the end of the day, this relationship has already been tested enough, but Rodgers is going to be throwing touchdown passes for the Packers in 2021. So Jordan Love, picking him was almost detrimental for this Green Bay Packers franchise, but now they get it. Now they get the MVP back, and Jordan Love gets to sit for another year. And it was awesome to watch that press conference. Awesome to see him roll up with the Oakleys and the office shirt on, and got the long hair, and just kind of, hey, I'm Aaron freaking Rodgers. I'm showing up. Let's go. Let's roll. And I like Aaron Rodgers. I think that they have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year. Can they compete with Tampa Bay? We'll see moving forward, but I really think they got the pieces. They have the pieces, but Aaron Rodgers, where will he want to go? Will he want to go? You heard Denver, you heard some other teams mentioned with Aaron Rodgers, so we'll see. But it'd just be weird, just like it was weird to see Brett Favre play in another uniform. It'd be weird to see Aaron Rodgers play in another uniform as well. But like I said, Rodgers reports to camp will have more say with the roster, free agents, trades, things like that. Before you cut a player, basically just check in with Aaron Rodgers. Make sure that Aaron Rodgers that's not his homeboy, and you'll be good. Green Bay also says he wants to play with Randall Cobb. They go and trade for Randall Cobb. I'm sure they give the Texans a late round pick for that swap. And the MVP is back, the 2-time MVP. I'm sorry, maybe a 3-time MVP now. We'll see what happens. Can he win another Super Bowl? Only has that one title, lost 4 NFC Championship games now. So Aaron Rodgers, or like Parker said, Karen Rodgers, we'll see what happens moving forward. Let's look at some of these comments real quick. All right. Yeah, Glenn. So I'm going back to the comments real quick. Yeah, if Clemson did leave or anyone else left the ACC, yes, you would have to pay that money. But yes, you'll probably pay 60, 70, 80 million, but you'll make that back tenfold. So I don't think Clemson would be too worried about paying that. Not saying that, Glenn, that Clemson would go to the SEC, but, you know, there's been some reports out there, and just keep your head on a swivel and be ready for that report, because I would not be shocked if Clemson, SEC does go after Clemson. Yeah, you're right, Charlie. They were justified. He said a lot of truth up there. Hey, we got a lot of good feedback, guys. I appreciate y'all, all the comments. Everybody who's commenting has been watching the show for a while now, so I really appreciate it. Yeah, SEC will definitely have a big influence in the decision regarding the new playoff. I definitely agree with that one, Tony. And, all right, so Parker wants to know, give me your top 5 quarterbacks in fantasy. All right, right off the top of my head, I'll go Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I'll go Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and Matt Stafford this year with LA. Those are my top 5 right there. Kyler Murray. I mean, I got a bunch of other guys in there as well. But those are my top 5. Parker, you heard it here first. And a guy I just mentioned, Deshaun Watson, does report to the Texans training camp, guys. Basically says today that he reported because he just showed up, so he doesn't. I said Kyler right there at 6. I'm going Stafford this year. Matched up with Sean McVay. I really want to see what Stafford does. You got Kyler, you got Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you got so many guys. You're going to be fine. You don't have to draft a quarterback early. Get a running back, get a wide receiver, and wait for those quarterbacks, guys. That's my advice to you heading into fantasy football. Deshaun Watson does report to camp. Instead of getting fined $50,000, and that's the thing. He's not going. First off, he's going to beat this case. I truly feel like he is. I don't know what happened. Who knows what happened? I don't want to dive into all that, but at the end of the day, the guy has a high-profile lawyer. He's got a bunch of money talks, and I really feel like Deshaun Watson will play the 2021 season. Now, I don't think it will be with the Texans, and I'm going to tell you a team who I think should pick up the phone right now. Make sure the legal stuff's going to play out and follow course. But at the end of the day, if you know that you can get Deshaun Watson for the next 5 to 7 years, and you know that he can be your quarterback, I think that this team needs to reach out and they need to offer, a defender, a couple first-round picks, maybe a swap at quarterback. But, this team has so much in place right now, and the team was very, very good last year in the playoffs, and the Washington football team just makes so much sense from not only a schematic standpoint with their offense, but just their defense. You have Deshaun Watson to go with that defense, and Chase Young and Montez Sweat and Jonathan Allen, they just drafted the linebacker Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, and then they also have Landon Collins and Kyle Fuller. I mean, they got guys all over this defense. They had started 4 quarterbacks last year. Alex Smith was basically their best guy, but he just wasn't himself. And then they had some other guys, Dwayne Haskins. He didn't work out, and you got Ron Rivera, and you have this little window with this Washington football team. And I think if you were to get a Deshaun Watson to pair him with Terry McLaurin and some of these other weapons that you have on this offense, I think that this offense and this Washington football team could be very, very good going forward. And you give Deshaun Watson, his contract comes over with Washington. He has that continuity with Ron Rivera. He's got a head coach in place, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I really think that makes a lot of sense. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't know you hated the Washington Redskins so much, but I'm just telling you, from a football standpoint, Deshaun Watson and the Washington football team make a whole hell of a lot of sense. And then the next team I'm going to talk about, we've already talked about this, Glenn, a couple times on this show, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, with the way they're built on defense, the way that this organization is built, they have Will Fuller, who came over from the Texans. He's now with Miami. He knows Deshaun Watson pretty well. Then you have Myles Gaskin, a good offensive line. that is young and trying to grow. They're not great, but they're young. So we'll see what happens there. But you have a really, really good defense with a lot of guys. And you have a defensive piece that you could use who wants out of Miami. Xavier Howard basically just wants to be paid. I don't think he cares where he plays. He just wants to be paid. You trade Xavier Howard and Tua. Maybe throw in 2 first-round picks. And, I mean, you really have a nice trade for both teams moving forward. Houston gets their quarterback and a defensive starter and some first-round picks to kind of retool a team that hasn't had a bunch of first-round picks because Bill O'Brien traded them all around. So, I mean, those are the 2 teams that make a lot of sense to me. Deshaun Watson, Miami, or Deshaun Watson with Washington. I think if you're either one of those teams, you should be going after Deshaun Watson. And if you strike out on Deshaun Watson, after this year, pick up the phone and call Green Bay because, hey, Green Bay makes a lot of sense Washington makes a lot of sense for Aaron Rodgers, or Miami makes a lot of sense for Rodgers too. So we'll see what happens. Those are just 2 teams to watch out for me there. I really am excited for this NFL training camp. Deshaun Watson, where he will go, and then also Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, see how well they play out. So got 3 more things, man. It's been a jam-packed show. Thank you so much for all the comments down below. That really helps me get more views and things like that. So thank y'all so much. Don't forget to give it a like down below as well. So the Atlanta Falcons, guys, they enter training camp in Flowery Branch, and this is the first training camp under new head coach Terry Fontenot and new head coach Arthur Smith and new GM Terry Fontenot, and really excited. I mean, you just have that new car smell with the Atlanta Falcons. You know what I mean? You know, you just get that new car and you got the brand new steering wheel and your leather seats and they just smell so good and everything's so fresh, and you just forget about your old beat up old car that, you know, stank and had a bunch of shit everywhere in it and just a bunch of stuff all in there, and it just wasn't the same as this new car that you have. Well, it's like trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. The Atlanta Falcons got all kind of shit going on wrong with the organization, okay, guys? So they're gonna have to not only try to protect Matt Ryan the last few years that he has. They're gonna have to try to build this defense. Build this defense for Matt Ryan. Give him a chance in his last few years. Also on the offensive side of the football, you have Mike Davis. Will get a lot of the carries at running back, but will Quandre Allison, a guy from Pittsburgh, guy who hasn't really been a key player for the Falcons in the first few years of his contract. We'll see what he does going forward. Look for him to maybe become that backup running back behind Mike Davis. Also, what happens at wide receiver 3 now that you have Calvin Ridley moving up from 2 to 1, and now you have Gage from 3 to 2? Who takes that leap as wide receiver 3? Can Frank Darby be that guy from Arizona State, the rookie out of Arizona State? We'll see. And then also left guard position. Left guard, you have some guys battling it out. You have Jalen Mayfield, who, you know, was the offensive tackle at Michigan, but could slide in and play some guard. He was a 3rd-round selection at pick 68. Then you also have Hennessy and the guy from Stanford that will battle it out at center. So, I mean, you got a lot of stuff going on. Zacchaeus, I think he is still with the team. I really don't know. Charlie, I'm not sure. And then on defense, guys, you have to develop that number 2 corner. I think you have that number 1 guy in AJ Terrell. Also, who steps up at that number 2 cornerback spot. Also, you see Isaiah Oliver move to safety. Can he transition and be a starting safety in this league? And then you also have Richie Grant. How will he be acclimated from this UCF defense? He was a very, very great player all over the field, hard hitter. Made some interceptions and made some plays for them. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. And then what do they do at defensive end? Justin Houston is a name that has been talked about a lot with this Atlanta Falcons team, but he has not made they have not made any moves yet. So I like to see, you know, them maybe go after a veteran defensive end like that. They can bring some continuity to this defensive line. Dante Fowler has to have a good season this year after the horrendous one he had last year, or he will be cut moving forward. So just a lot of it's a fresh new season, 17-game schedule for the Atlanta Falcons, and you just look to build off that 4-12 season, and you try to get the pieces in place. Matt Ryan's been consistent. He's got to be probably gonna, you asked Charlie you asked 2 to 3 years. I'd probably say about 3 to 4 years left. The quarterback position has got to be addressed at some point. Also running back, and then, you just got to draft. There's needs all over the football field. So, best player available, that's something I've always, I preach, and we'll see what Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith have going forward. And then also I'm going to try to go to training camp one day too. So if I do, I'll definitely let you guys know. And then, so we move on. Before we get out of here, guys, we got 2 things. We'll talk a little bit about the MLB trade deadline and the NBA draft. So I want to talk a little bit about the NBA draft, which is tomorrow. And basically, you got the Orlando Magic picking. They have 2 picks inside the top 8. They pick at number 5 and number 8. And then you also have another team in the top 2 picks in the lottery. The Golden State Warriors have pick 7 and pick 14, looking to grow with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson looking to return from injury, James Wiseman last year. So this Golden State team can definitely be good moving forward, but we'll see what happens. So you have Orlando at 5. You have Toronto, just won a title 2 years ago, now picking in the top 5. You got Cleveland at number 3. And then you have the Rockets at 2 and Pistons at 1. So basically, this is like a 4 or 5 player. Now, yes, there's more players than this in the draft, but just top guys at the top, guys who can turn into all-stars, who can be franchise leading guys up front. There's about 4 or 5 guys. All right. If your life was on the line, what Olympic event do you think you could medal in for the next Olympics? So you have 3 years. Man, I have no idea. I'd probably have to go with it's not Winter Olympics, but just any sport, Olympics. I'm probably gonna go try to do curling or something, man. But who knows? That's what I would probably try to do. But we'll see what happens. And my top prospects, guys, I'm going with my number 1 prospect, Cade Cunningham, the big point guard, can kind of play that point forward. That kind of point forward role, and I think he's going to be an electric scorer. I've heard some comparisons to Luka Doncic. I've heard some comparisons to Chris Middleton. So I like both of those comparisons. But just a guy, he's a guy who's going to have to be a big point guard who can go out there and make plays, score 20 points a game, average 25 and 5. That's what you're looking at from Cade Cunningham, and I really like him and his prospect going forward. You have a Jalen Green who sat out, went to the G League, just a dynamic scorer, incredible athlete. A lot of people said if he would have went to college this year, you'd be having a discussion with Cade Cunningham versus Jalen Green, but he went and got paid, and it looks like Cade Cunningham is the consistent number 1, followed by Jalen Green, and then you have Evan Mobley, the 7-foot center from USC, who was, very, very, polished as a prospect. He can do a lot of things defensively. He can also rebound, block a couple shots a game. He's a traditional center, even though, yes, the game is going more limitless. But, I think Evan Mobley can be that guy. And you're looking about 10 years ago, man, this guy would be a number 1 pick all day as a 7-footer who can do the things he can do. And then you look at number 4, a guy who probably could be playing quarterback in college football right now, and Jalen Suggs, a guy who hit that buzzer beater against UCLA in the Final Four, had his shining moment, and then they went out and laid a dud versus Baylor. But Jalen Suggs, I really like him going forward. He might be my second favorite prospect in this draft, but I have him as my number 4 overall player. And really excited to see him maybe go to Toronto. And then, 2 guys as my number 5 overall player. Scotty Burns, guy who played at Florida State, was with the veteran roster, really didn't get to shine as much as he would have liked to. And then you have Davion Mitchell from Liberty County down there in Hinesville, Georgia. He went to Auburn, transferred to Auburn, went to Baylor, wins a national championship, is a great defender. And then also he's only 6'3", but I mean, this guy has just shot up the NBA draft boards. I mean, I really, really like him, and I think he could definitely go top 10. But he's one of my favorite players in this entire draft, and I'm really excited to see what he can do moving forward. So Scotty Burns or Davion Mitchell, we'll see what happens with those two players. But those are my top 5-6 guys in the draft, and also that's my top 5 picks in the NBA draft as well, guys. So stay tuned for more of that. And then the MLB trade deadline, guys. Before we get out of here, some news coming today. Sterling Marte was traded from the Miami Marlins to the Oakland A's for a left-handed starter. A very, very good prospect coming from the A's to the Marlins. It looks like just a rental, but I think that the A's definitely are going to like Marte in their outfield. He's a really good player. And then also you have a guy, Tyler Anderson, pitcher from the Pirates, was traded today. And then also Joey Gallo being sent over for 5 prospects from the Rangers to the Yankees. The Yankees get that outfielder that they desperately needed. And you're going to have him with that short porch in right field, a lot of home runs. Also, he can play first base, can play any of the outfield positions. So, what is going to happen next? You've already seen the Chicago Cubs move on from Jock Peterson. Do they move on from Anthony Rizzo? Do they move on from Chris Bryant? Those 2 names are the big 2 names to watch out for. What did the Boston Red Sox do now that the New York Yankees have made a trade? They're going to be they'll be doing something. They're not going to be standing pat. And then also, what happens to Trevor Story, the Colorado Rockies All-Star? Looks like he's possibly going to be headed out of town. Where does he end up? You've heard New York Mets. Also, Byron Buxton could possibly be moved as well from the Minnesota Twins. So Josh Donaldson, so you got a bunch of storylines coming up that are going to happen. And yes, Chris Bryant, they've been talking about trading him for years, and you're right, they haven't done it yet, so they may not. But, man, just a jam-packed show. So many things to talk about. NFL training camps are back, guys. College football is right around the corner. I was at ACC Media Day last week. Really enjoyed it. SEC Media Days have their day as well. You got the Olympics going on. Simone Biles, checks out of the individual gymnastics all around for mental health reasons. So, I mean, that was just huge news coming out of gymnastics. And, yes, the Olympics didn't get talked about a lot going into it, but now it's in full swing. You got USA men's basketball with the loss to France. But they did get back on track, beating Iran last night. They 120 to 160, or to 120 to 60 or something like that. So I hope that the men's basketball team can get back on track. The girls also had a really close game against Nigeria. So it seems like the rest of the world is kind of catching up to USA basketball, but you didn't hear it from me. All right. So thank you all so much, guys. I really appreciate it. What a great show. Don't forget, guys, you can also find me on Apple. I'm on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, at Kick It With Crow. Basically, anywhere you get your favorite podcast, guys, I'm on there. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe today, guys. Until next time, thank you so much for joining me today on Kicking It With Crowder. I'm out. Let's go.